So Jens, we spoke about kind of different elements within AI and different elements within startups, and obviously the current economic situation. So in terms from I guess your perspective, how is AI kind of changing the startup world, or also I guess also the investment scene in the current situation?
So I think it's still way underestimated
Okay.
on what's going to come with that and what's going to come on us. And yes, ChatGPT was probably the biggest marketing stunt in IP ever done, putting that
Really?
thing out. Yeah, if you look what they have done is they put something which was, there was an AI community and people talked about AI, but my mother is 85 and she asked me and said, oh, I've seen the morning TV and they talked about ChatGPT. What is that? So it was everywhere at the moment. And I think it took investors, it took even serious software companies a time to understand what happened there. And then you had the people who rightly jumped on it, made it the next hype, and said everything will be there tomorrow, and the world is going to go down, and we are going to lose our job next week. And then that's the one element. And the other ones were like, oh yeah, guys, don't get me started. We had blockchain 3 years ago. We had metaverse 2 years ago. Now you say we all going to die if we don't pivot to AI tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then that's probably the range of behavior you have seen. I think the one difference to what happened, and this is way more than a marketing hype, and I think we have underestimated that, is that you have a very easy accessibility of using the technology. So this is unlike other technologies where it is way harder. That technology is basically available. And when you see what Microsoft is doing in a really clever way, I think with this idea of the co-pilot in their products, and say, hey, we're going to put AI into every product, and then we're going to assist you with AI in what you do today. And I think they talk nicely with, we make you more efficient, and then we get you focusing on the important stuff, and you don't have to do the boring things anymore. But in some areas, that will just turn into the ultimate job killing machine. Let's face it. This is
100%, and we're seeing that already.
As a society, we need to think about how we handle that, and how do we have to start taxing that technologies or whatever. So that is one thing. The other thing is there is areas where AI will support you. Like I think Copilot is a good example. And I probably could have slept a couple of 100 hours more and not having to do slides in night shifts as a consultant in the past. And that works quite well. And when you look how easy you can use something like ChatGPT today, and this is, I think we are on a level, everybody thinks now this is it. I think we are on a level, if you compare that to the development of the internet. I think we have defined HTML now. Yes, we all agreed on
very starting
there's a standard, and then yes, there's GCP, there's OpenAI, there is open source standard, but there's a general standard for how we're going to do AI. That's not going to move. But we basically created now HTML and an empty internet. So the opportunity, what's now going to come, I think, is going to be very similar towards, hey, the internet is still empty at the moment. In AI terms, the internet is empty. And that was one thing where I said, okay, for me, I always said, okay, with 50, I'm gonna pull the plug out of my old job and don't want to be in a big firm, want to do other things again. But that was for me the ultimate trigger to say, hey, this is like invention of computer and invention of internet again. What we see. Yeah. So it's a huge opportunity. How does it change? To your question, how did it change the behavior of investors and of startups? there is a huge relabeling exercise getting on. Everybody's an AI company now, and then there is so many, and that's again, there's so many bullshit cases now out at the moment. I said, no, you are not an AI company. Yes, you might understand analytics, you might understand working with data. That's fine, but that's not AI. And it's fine. Not every company has to turn into an AI company. And there is areas where today AI is not the right answer, but there is, on the other side, there's very often companies who have to rethink whether the way they solve a problem is still the right way. And there's these old, I love to use that picture. There's these old, if you're building drilling machines, you have optimized your drilling machine for the last 100 years. I don't know how long drilling machines exist, to make it easier to put the optimal hole in the wall. The question is now, if somebody invented wireless power, you might not need a hole anymore to put a cable through. And that's the same thing. There's things in IT which will fundamentally change.
100%.
And I think this is something which we see that a lot. There's one German startup which really sticks out at the moment, which I really like, which is Paloa, which is doing automation, AI-based customer communication automation.
Yeah, I've seen them.
I say it's a great example of something which wasn't possible 2 years ago. And now if I would own a call center, I would really think about how to reinvent myself, because this is going to go away. If you are in legal on what you can do on, and then that's the lawyer, and then that's probably a different case. A lawyer is not going to go away. There will be lawyers.
Yeah.
But the associate who is doing you, the first year associate who is doing you the contract draft first wave, which then the lawyer looks at and refines, that process will look different, not in 5 years. That will look different in 2 years. And I think that is the other thing, that even if you have a stable business case as a startup today, you have this horizon planning where people say you have your what happens in the next 6 to 12 months in horizon 1, what happens in 12 to 36 months in horizon 2, and then what happens on your long-term roadmap on 36 months plus, and how you work that. And that model was pretty stable for many years, and then you could do pretty good strategic planning around your product around that. And then I think that got turned upside down, because that model implied in the past a linear development of technology. And we don't have that. ChatGPT 3 to ChatGPT 4 was a huge step.
Yeah.
If we get 5, or when you see the open source models now popping up, or
we're talking about 4.5
what Google announced last week, there is events which are 5-year steps in 1 month. And I think adopting that changes. And again, this is not a hype. This is not like where we have seen a similar behavior on a lower scale, where out of the sudden everybody put blockchain in their product a couple of years ago, because okay, everything is better with a blockchain. I said, it's fucking stupid. You don't need a blockchain in your solution. It just doesn't make any sense. And I think that is different with AI. And underlying there, and then probably Germany is a bit more conservative than other countries there. We still think, or there is still people who think, it's getting less and less and less, but there are still people on the client side, and then there is people definitely still on the product side who think they can make things better on-prem or on their own cloud. And cloud and AI is related. You're not going to build AI at scale in an on-prem environment or in your own cloud.
100%.
Because you're not able to deploy enough money against it. And I think that that together, if you embrace the right technologies, if you're open really to worst case rethink your model, how your product, your solution, your startup is structured, and say, yeah, we might have an answer to a problem pre-AI. Our answer to the problem with AI might look completely different, and then that might result that they have to toss 60% of your product.
Potentially,
I
yeah.
think those things will come. This whole relabeling thing is, I think, is just that's an event at the moment where when you see the investments in, and there is a couple of charts which we can share with the audience, which are quite interesting. When you look the investments which went into AI in the last years, most of the VC money which has been deployed so far are deployed in core AI. So there's tons of money went into OpenAI and into other of these ones. But when you look on the business case related AI solutions, so the guy who does a solution for the legal industry, or the guys who does a solution for the manufacturing industry, there is not so much money deployed. And I think this is a huge chance for European founders. We say, hey, this is where you are with an industry, where you are with a real problem, with a business case driven AI solution based on one of the big players. And those are the ones which get focused now. Those are the ones where VCs start to, private family offices, private investors start to get funding into. And of course, I don't want to undermine, there is real great and smart people on the fundamentals of AI, on research, but it's a super niche. So there will be not like 100 of them, but there will be hundreds of business AI application startups which come and which have a right to exist. And yeah, the other one, the bullshit relabelers will go away. It's not gonna.
Yeah, that's inevitable, I guess, in that kind of element. And obviously, we've seen kind of AI take the market by storm, like you said. And I think a lot of that is really, we can attribute a lot of that actually to the fact that it surpassed a lot of people's expectations. Yeah. Nobody expected AI to have such, good results, if you will. Like even myself, I think a lot of people that I work with as well, everybody was like, astonished with ChatGPT. You put in a little sentence and suddenly you're getting such a comprehensive answer back.
Yeah, and it is interesting also on the client side. If you have the right case, you definitely get the attention of your clients. And then I joked around with a colleague and said it's a bit of a CEO's golf court topic almost. Like say, what are you doing on AI? And we have seen with portfolio companies, we have seen pitches where companies went into areas where they were in a very deep niche, and where I said, okay, you're solving with AI, you're solving a real issue, and you have your department leader who's your buy center, and you had the CEO of a major firm being involved. I said, why the heck is the CEO of that firm interested in that thing in the engine room? But it's one of the early cases we do with AI, and it's one of the things we now where we want to be thought leading, where we want to show some leadership as a company. And obviously that is super attractive, and also it shows that, and then it's probably the downside of Germany a bit, that we are sometimes still too conservative on. They all want high innovation. They all want cutting edge, and they want to have this startup influence to their firms, but they don't want to take any risk. And it's these old term like you don't get fired for buying IBM. That still sticks, and I think this is a little bit more progressive, definitely in the UK here, and definitely in the US. But it's they all want to have the cool new stuff, and something which has never been before.
And nobody wants
can
to
you please prove me 500 kinds and that you're in the market for 10 years already? But again, that's another thing where at the moment, I think it's underestimated. If you put the right advisory board together as a startup, you can get so much help, and then down to clients, down to relationships, and say, okay, hey, if we have put a solid 7-digit number into a company, that is showing that we trust that firm, and we can transport that in customer communication to the client and say, hey, if it's good for us to invest, it could be good for you to be a client. So as a founder, I would definitely try to get that. And on AI is get seriously educated. And you're not an AI company if you have an iframe of ChatGPT in your application. That's not the thing.
That's fair enough. And I mean, obviously, we said AI kind of dwarfed quite a lot of other things. You used to hear about the metaverse, used to hear about blockchain, about crypto, pretty much, on a daily basis. But, if you look at any kind of feed now, you look at most of, the news that's coming out, it's pretty much like it's gone. It's almost non-existent at this stage. Do you think these things will kind of come back into the spotlight at any point? Or why do you think like AI has completely just annihilated any news about metaverse, blockchain, or crypto?
I think AI is more going to be like cloud. It's going to be an infrastructure part which is there, and it's going to be used in everything to a degree. And yes, there are use cases which are more AI related, and it's the same with cloud. There is not everything in the cloud makes sense. You need to think about your concept on what you want to keep on prem, and especially if you're working somewhere on the edge. There is workloads which you want to keep on prem, and if you have things, especially in manufacturing, which are 100% uptime 24/7, you might want to have a little local event which runs there, which keeps you up and running if something is down. But in general, cloud is going to be the infrastructure with some exceptions. And the same thing is AI will be in everything with some exceptions. Metaverse, I think, is an interesting one. I think this is probably, it got pushed to the side a little bit. It got pushed, definitely had his moment after the pandemic. Everybody was trying to figure out how does remote working work, and
is this the answer to everything around that?
I think, and AI is a huge part of metaverse. If you want to do that in the right way, I think it will come. It will come in probably more a midterm thing. But when you look what KPMG, my old guys, are doing, or what Accenture is doing on trainings, there is a huge wave at the moment trying to do trainings in virtual classrooms and make them a bit more accessible through metaverse environments. But also there is going to be, when you look, we talked about the automation of call centers. So today, yes, you have. The next wave is going to be that you can, in a fluent way, talk to an engine, to an AI engine, and then today you're barely able to recognize whether you talk to a human or not. The next wave will be that I'm really thinking the communication with a client will stay. The channel might not be the phone anymore, but the channel might be Zoom or Teams or an app which has a video.
I think that's been a shift recently as well.
Video embedded or whatever. But that also says the next wave will be you will look at somebody, so it's gonna involve video again, and you will see emotion detection in there. You will see, okay, how is Ori? How is he wired? Is he in a bad mood already? And then if the camera is on, I can see
those,
you. If you're pissed off already and you're 5 minutes in the waiting line, that's not a good start of a conversation. So how can we solve that?
Really
and then the other end might not be, again, you don't want to go back to a human if you automated the voice already. So I think there will be avatars which come up there pretty soon. There will be definitely in everything which is customer client communication, you will see that a lot. Everything which is solving the issue of travel for like trainings is a great one. Where that will come. So virtual environments to meet. I think most of the hybrid work scenarios today, you still feel it's okay. I think we all went the whole 9 yards through the pandemic, living in teams. Everybody accepted that, and I think you can do a decent operations meeting in Teams or in Zoom or whatever. Take technology. If everybody is remote, that works.
But it's tricky when it's different.
You and I are in a conference room and dialed somebody, and the guy lost already.
Yeah,
that's not fixed. So would it be better that even if we are in the office, that we all three show up as avatars and then have like the same balance of power there?
I've seen there's a company that does something like that around the table. You can all basically join in, and it's a virtual kind of conference or meeting room, if you will.
And there's a great one. I saw one technology which basically puts the remote guy at a seat at the table. So it looks like when you look at the big screen, it looks like he's sitting at the table. It's great.
That's pretty cool.
I think things like that they have their reason, and we're going to see what comes with Zoom, what comes with Teams. That area, the other area, which I think again is a big fan of that, is the whole lens devices on manufacturing. So if you are working, and then I had that myself. I used that. If you want to fix your car and have no clue how to do it, that virtual mixed reality thing, it's damn good.
It's so interesting.
That you can see, I look at that thing and then literally I have no idea what to do. And you have your tutorial how to change whatever on the engine.
The oil, do all that kind of stuff if you don't know.
And that has its right to exist. If you are
100%.
a blue collar worker and then work out somewhere and in a telco company, have your first day or whatever, and you get some assist, or you can even go check back with the headquarter. The other big thing, and then I think they are way more advanced than we all see, is defense. So this whole mixed reality thing, no, that part is not going to go away. Again, cloud and AI in that area is going to have a huge influence on it. But and again, that's a huge room for good startup companies who solve an issue. So we've seen companies who did planning for factory floors, where you can basically do 3D planning and then walk through a virtual factory floor. Those are things which will be there, which will stay. And the whole blockchain thing, there are areas where it makes sense. And there are areas to just secure assets or something like that. But it would, I think that is back to normal and then probably where it belongs. Maybe I'm wrong.
I think it's really interesting. Obviously, like augmented reality and all these kind of elements are definitely something that's going to take the market by storm very soon, and it's going to be a lot more prominent. I think it's still something that's obviously being developed and really being optimized. In terms of yourself, obviously, AI is a massive topic now, and we kind of went in the last 5 years, especially, we went through a wave of different technologies that kind of took the market by storm and disappeared, and took the market by storm and disappeared. Is there any technology that you're really excited about? Anything that's kind of emerging, maybe not as well known or not as well adopted currently, that you think is going to be something really exciting down the road?
Yeah, I don't know what your colleague here is using on post-production of our taping. So if he has the right AI to makes me look 10 pounds better, that's probably one thing. No, seriously, I think this whole video editing, how you look, and then it's not like making me looking 10 pounds better, but going back to virtual meetings in a conference room. So how AI is used today, that there is a lot of camera products which popped up on hardware which enabled you to zoom into the room. I think that is the hardware for that is going to go away. You will be able to use a standard webcam, and AI and software will do it. And then if we are sitting here in a room and then we are talking, then it will be pretty natural that you're going to get a Zoom window that it zooms to me. And that recognition of people's behavior in rooms and making things more interactive. And I've seen some early stage pre-product developments there from some companies where I thought, wow, they had a cameraman behind that, and it was all AI driven. It was so spot on. The moment I talked, it was on me. The moment you start talking, it was on you.
Yeah.
I think that we're going to see the world there, and I think you can just look at the film industry, what they use today. If somebody has not seen this, there is this Star Wars trailer built in the look of a Wes Anderson film. I don't know if you have seen that.
No, I haven't seen that.
It is amazing. So there is, look at the trailer. So Wes Anderson, the filmmaker who has like this very flowery picture language.
Okay.
And there's a guy who built a Star Wars trailer, which was completely AI produced. And look at the trailer, and after that there is a 45-minute view on a making of and how he tells how it's produced. And
that's really interesting.
It's mind-blowing. And I think this is for me what shows you if you are creative, if you do the right things, and if you're able to use it, what it is today capable of. And then if we still keep that idea, the internet is still empty, then if this is the beginning, you can anticipate what's happening. No,
100%. I think trying to think and trying to come up what will be essentially in the next 2-3 years.
Yeah.
I don't think we can really kind of comprehend essentially the levels that AI will kind of build to.
The other thing is definitely, I think, what will come sooner than later is, and it's not a technology question anymore, it's a regulatory question entirely, is the whole autonomous driving thing. There is a huge market on that, and
massive.
And when you see, it's pretty scary. So we get quite used in Palo Alto and Silicon Valley to have these autonomous cars running around, and you have a bored driver sitting there behind the steering wheel doing nothing. Now for a while you see these cars where nobody sits in, and if you have that car showing up beside you at the light and there's nobody sitting in, it looks quite scary. But I think we will get used to that pretty quick. And then I think that the biggest risk on the street, if we deploy that, will be the cars which have drivers in. It's not be the cars which have no drivers in. And then the risk comes of the mixed sharing the road for the next 20 years probably. But I think that is definitely something where, and especially being German, passionate about cars, this is something where we need to try to keep being the lead. The other thing is the office automation. I think at the moment when we talk about AI, and when most companies talk about AI or clients talk about AI, it's the information worker. So it's the office worker, it's us. So I don't know how much of your questions you prepared were done by ChatGPT, but that is obvious for everybody. But we will see now the next wave getting out of the office and out of the information worker into the production worker. So how can we automate production? And if in Europe, if we want to have a chance to still do production of whatever products in Europe, we need to differentiate, and automation is the only way. Otherwise, it's going to be done in China.
And you're seeing German companies, for example, like Memento AI. They're working on the whole autonomous driving scene with Mercedes-Benz. So there's obviously quite a lot of different elements coming into specifically Germany.
And on the one side, to be on that edge, but don't forget about the core values. I talked a while ago with the head of innovation of a large automotive OEM, and he said, "Oh yeah, we need to do more. We need to become a technology company, and we need to be more around the entertainment and then the technology." I said, why? This is not what's going to differentiate you. If you want to have a better user interface than Tesla, or if you want to be more innovative than what you get from the Chinese firms, from the Chinese OEMs already, who are damn quick, I don't know that's going to differentiate you. But if you build good cars, and if you put up alliances with the right technology companies who bring you, as an automotive, you cannot be more innovative than a tech player. It doesn't work. And then again, for me, Tesla is a software company. And then when have you ever driven a Tesla, the car itself is okay, but it's an American car. Sorry for me being German on that, but it's a different quality level. And then I think
definitely.
if we are able to combine the core values of engineering of whatever product, doesn't have to be cars, with the right load up of technologies and using of technologies, I think that is a chance how we can bring things together, but not be the second innovative one on something. That's not going to be the winner. And back to startups, I think if we have startups who are bridging that and who help companies being better on what they do and what their core business is and help them to focus on their core, I think there's gigantic niches for that.
No, 100%. But then all these startups now that you mentioned, are sprouting up and coming up with an AI. That there's a saying I think you mentioned to me a bit ago, but you mentioned data is essentially the new fuel, the new currency of these startups. So how do you think that would impact these young startups trying to get into the scene where they don't have as much data to kind of leverage off of or to build off of than these big players who have been in the scene for quite a while? How do you think that's going to affect these startups?
The data discussion is an interesting one, and everybody says, yeah, data is like the new fuel or new currency or whatever. And then there is so many clients. If you look at it from a client side first, there are so many clients who are, we differentiate ourselves, and then we have 100 years of data, and then we have client data, and we have this data, and when you look how barely they're able to use this data. And then there is many firms, yes, they have a lot of data, but when you look into their CRM system, it's not good. And then when you look on where they have their internal data and their whatever document management collaboration system, it's cluttered around 35 different pieces. And then you have this wave of big data lake projects going on where people said, okay, we want to do master data management projects and all that stuff, which many of them failed. So I think AI again is going to be a huge catalysator to make data usable. And even if you don't have the data yourself as a startup, if you enable your clients, again, in an industry, in a niche, in a department, to use the data the right way, that could be a huge influencer. Of course, if you then are a startup which is able to basically come in with preloaded data or have a really well trained industry-based model which you can bring in, that's worth a lot. So if you say, hey, definitely, I have a model here which is pre-trained on the financial service or the retail industry or whatever, and which has the knowledge from 800 other customers, if you are able to do that, which comes back to how as a company, as a startup, how you do your contracts. It's great if you help your clients, but if you're not able to use or harvest any of those, then that's probably not a value for you. So be from the very beginning, be very determined on how you build your business model. The second thing is that you can obviously, with the right use cases, you can create immediate value by making data usable the companies have. And many of the large corporates say, yeah, in general, we have this data accessible, but it was just not efficient in the past. Now that you have technologies who work very well on unstructured data, you can use this. So we looked at a company who basically did summaries of projects out of document folders. It's not a big thing, but you basically say, hey, I have my document folder here, my project folder, which contains of 25 different PowerPoints, 40 words, and then 40 PDFs, and then you can say, give me a summary, and then it writes you a summary document.
So
and that's for my old industry, professional service. Great, we spent thousands of hours on those.
Yeah.
So that is those things will create sustainable ideas and then business. And then you have obviously, and then that's probably just emerging, that people are going to recognize that if you want to build industry cases or industry solutions, you need data.
100%.
And there is obviously, you had large exits like Bureau van Dijk, I think was over 100 million exit in a very very niche area. But there is clients, there is companies there which came up pretty fast in our industry. So how, like when you look at the pitch books or the crunch bases of the world, which are the bigger ones, but there is smaller ones, more niche ones, which are great, which have great business models, and there's a couple of ones in Europe also, and I think that is then it was tough in the past for VCs to get on the valuation of these data only companies, but I think this is by now accepted, because that for scalable AI use cases, it basically becomes the fuel. And then if you have this data and AI angle fixed, I think these are good business models to look at if you solve a real industry problem.
100%. So these startups that are kind of sprouting up and kind of going along that route. So, we kind of touched on the base of, US, China, and Europe. Do you think a startup in Europe might have a harder time securing funds going up against, let's say, a Chinese startup or a USA startup, if they're both competing for, let's say, the same VC or those kind of elements?
So the Chinese startups, I think, is a whole different world, and they came up with the government came up with this idea of how AI should be built. And unlike the European Union or the German government, when you put out something that is more like a loose recommendation, I think in China, companies just do that, and then there is ideas. There is ideas of how they're gonna look at AI from a government perspective. It is actually way cheaper for them to be good and to be scalable, because if no data privacy exists, it's way easier for you to use the data. Plus, the government to technology, relation is way closer. So there is companies who can use public data or government data to train their AIs, which I don't want to happen. So I'm happy that that I'm not in that, but it makes it damn efficient. At the moment, we see little ambition from these companies going outside of China, and then I think at the moment there is a Chinese market is big enough for them to scale. Also, there's going to be little acceptance in other areas for that models. I think personally it is going to change the moment the local economy in China comes to a limit of growth. They need to open up, they need to adopt things, and they're just too powerful and too innovative to be ignored. And I think we're going to see a second wave of Chinese companies going global. Whether that's going to happen in 3 or 5 years, I can't tell you. So that's China. I think the European startups have a really good chance to stay up against the US ones. And again, as we see coming market leaders, I think the point is, and that goes back to choose the right VC who helps you. And then I think starting with a local VC in your early days is good. And then this is something where we cooperate with US VCs. So it's one reason why I spend at least 50% of my time in the West Coast. That if we have startups who mature, and then if there's others coming in, then have the startups, have the investor who can make you those connections. And again, the willingness of US VCs is quite big to invest into European companies. But you can have a German or UK VC who has got great connections in the US, or you can get in a VC from the US then who helps you in the market. But you could also have a US VC who does shit for you on the go-to-market in the US. So I think this is, again, back to the part, get the right money, not just get money. And then in that conversation, if you pick your VC, get one who really gets you substantial help.
Get the ones essentially that will back you, mentor you, and also give you.
And then you have a good chance. Then you 100%. Definitely have a good chance to succeed.
Okay, awesome. So obviously, Jens, we talked about different kind of elements for when you began your career to, I guess, the stage now that you were looking at with AI, and we're looking at all these kind of different emerging technologies. In terms of yourself, what would you say is like the biggest lesson you've learned kind of going through, I guess, the beginning when you started your journey as an entrepreneur to coming up to today? What's the biggest thing that impacted you or made your decisions, influenced your decisions in a different way?
Well, that's a big one. So probably three things. Is A, and if you are growing as a startup, if your company goes bigger, it's a natural thing which happens is don't surround yourself with naysayers. There is always the moment if you reach a certain size that you have people around you as a founder who say, "Oh, you're doing a great job. You do great." And again, I'm a huge believer if you pick the right advisory boards, if you choose the right people who can help you getting connected, but also who can show you the mirror and say, yeah, it's good if 8 people in your company say this is the right way, but it's still bullshit. And I don't think you should have whatever necessarily an external coach or whatever on that, but get somebody involved. And then this is what we try to do more than money, and then show, hey, here's your mirror. And and then it's okay. You can still ignore the advice, but sometimes get and even if you choose your team, get people in your team who are critical and who are challenging you and who are not just saying, oh yeah, you're the boss, you're great. And I think this is one of the assets, to be very honest, of European startups, including the UK, which are in the US, you have it very often. The larger the companies get, you have this, oh, this is the leader, he's doing everything right. And if he's not if he's not the leader anymore, he's definitely the asshole of tomorrow. But I think this more controversial discussions, and I think that is what I like from European style firms more. The second is definitely is don't. And if success comes, and then if the first money comes in, is don't start to take yourself too serious. That even if you have a success now, got your funding, is stay grounded and then question yourself. I think that's what drives you forward. And the last one definitely is I hate this word work-life balance.
Okay.
That's to me it's bullshit. I think if you now say, oh yeah, I need to do my get this and then this is my off time, or I have to do my work-life balance. If you're passionate about something and if you want that, if it feels like it's work and it's yes, you need a downtime. If you have 5 days, 15 hours each day, you need a break and you should take a break. Otherwise, you wear yourself out physically. That's fine. And if you have a young family, you only have a young family once, so you should take care of that. But if you're passionate about things, that shouldn't feel like work. And if you say, oh yeah, honestly, it's Monday morning again and I have to do this again, then I would rethink twice if I want to do that.
No, 100%.
And there is so many people, and that's probably why we see a lot of people from large companies, the big four, Accenture, post the pandemic. There were a lot of people who said, oh no, I want to give it a different feeling, and then I want to get something different. And I think if you have the right idea, if you have the right team, being a founder, and if you're in a startup, there is an environment today, even if you got out of a very, very established job, that you can create something, that you can make an impact. It's easier for smaller companies to be accepted and to make an impact today than it was in the past. I think then work ideally shouldn't feel like work. And again, if I were flying around for 3 weeks and then working 7 days a week, you need a break, and you should take a break, and you shouldn't think about not think about your mind and your body. But I think sometimes it's a bit overdone. Said, oh yeah, this is the work life, and then this is.
Yeah, it's really emphasized in today's
Yeah,
today's scene.
and again, if work doesn't feel like work, I think you have the right balance.
100%. So, Jens, obviously, you're right now at the stage that you're mentoring and advising, young startups and throughout, what
You can
they're
just
doing.
say I'm an old white man.
But I guess one thing that really kind of intrigues me, and I really want to know, is what is the best piece of advice you've received? Maybe at the beginning, maybe in the middle, maybe even recently. What's the best piece of advice someone has given you throughout your journey?
Probably three things. The one thing is that, and that is probably the counter of there shouldn't be a work-life balance. You only have one life. It's great if you make a ton of money, and it's great if you are super successful, but I was always the youngest in every job, and now if I'm around there, I'm looking around and said, "Fuck, I'm the oldest again here," even if I'm only 50. But I think you can do, whether you are 40, 50, or 60. You can found a company, and if you say, 100%. "Hey, I have that idea, I have that passion," you should do that. That's not a problem anymore. If you're still young in the head, that works. The other thing is definitely you shouldn't say I do it tomorrow. And I've seen so many people with great ideas stuck in corporate jobs who just said, "Oh, it's so nice, and it's a nice salary, and it's a nice office." And
it's like the Nike
I've got my
yesterday. You said tomorrow.
Yeah, I've got my two PAs here, and then they never do it, and then they get frustrated with their own job, and there's a lot of those. So just saying, okay, there is life outside the big corporates, and if you have a great idea, just try and do it. And then that's probably in Germany a different thing. Is failing is not an error. And this is definitely in the US a way better mindset. There is no issue about okay, I tried it and it didn't work, and I tried it a second time and it didn't work, and then the third time it became PayPal. I think what he did 3 times, the first 2 attempts didn't work either. So there is failing is not an error. If you try things, you will fail, and then just you need to fix it. You need to start. And I think that is probably the best part of advice, which I said, okay, and don't be afraid to fail. It's fine. And I think we need, especially corporates, need to adopt a better culture on that. We always talk about that, but to be very honest, in big corporates, if you want you really fail, there is like a stamp on your head, which again in the startup industry probably is better. And then the third thing is again to that point is just stay grounded. There is especially if things work, and then just look in the mirror. Not only talk to your immediate management team, go in the engine room and talk to your interim, and talk to the receptionist, or talk to the engineers who do things. Don't lose the perspective.
100%. Well, Jens, I think we had quite an in-depth and really interesting discussion. We covered quite a lot of topics, from AI, startup scaling, obviously your journey as well. It's been quite eye-opening in that respect. So I think we'll wrap things up here. I thank everyone for joining us on this episode of the VC Corner. You can obviously find Jens's LinkedIn or any other socials that he wishes to put down, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Ori, thank you. Thanks for having me, and please feel free to reach out.